How's it going, Diablo 2 fans? I'm Switch209 and thank you all for checking out my video. Today I have something really fun to show you. This is a build that I found when I was trying to find something that people could play when it comes to ladder. And a lot of people, as you all know, try to go for the Sorceress, Frenzy Barbarian, and a lot of people like to play an Oradin. And I actually ended up finding a really fun one that was a really good support character. And that's going to be the Angelic Avenger by Saltatrix. For any of you guys that are interested in this build, after I show all of the attributes, skill tree, gear, and some of the gameplay, go ahead and check in the description of this video to be able to know more about this build. Before we get into that, let's go do a couple of comment shoutouts from a previous video. Both of the comments come from my video where I used Work's Leg to kill Ubers. The first one coming from BPK Das Bomb saying Lel Pog, and the second one coming from Gaia's Cradle K, who says awesome, always wanted to make something OP with Work's Leg, maybe in Diablo Resurrected. Thank you both so much for checking out my videos and leaving me a comment. I really do appreciate you guys' support, along with everybody else that watches my content. With the formalities out of the way, let's go ahead and jump right into the build.
Now I think you shall have your reward.
So the first thing we're going to go over is the attributes, followed by the skill tree, and then we're going to go over the gear before showing a little bit of gameplay so you guys can see how this build really does go against the elements and how it is pretty much invincible against anybody that's going to play PvP against a Sorceress, a Trapsin, or a Wind Druid, just to name a few different characters. So for the attributes, we have enough to be able to equip the gear that we have, kind of like a max Vita build. However, we are going to be focusing on a max block rate of 75%, and that's going to be because we are going to be using Smite as our primary skill to be able to deal damage, and we are going to be eventually maxing out Holy Shield, so we want to be able to have as much of a chance to be able to block and to be able to have high defense for amount of damage that we can actually give out. Also because even though this is a primarily invincible character when it comes to the elements, you are still immune to physical and magic damage. You're not going to be invincible to that, so we want to make sure that we can have as high of a defense as possible to be able to make sure that we can survive the easiest when it comes to going against anybody or anything that can actually deal physical damage or magic damage. So with that said, let's go ahead and see what we'd have. So here we go. With Holy Shield, we now have over 20,000, and that's going to be greatly helpful against anything that is going to be able to deal physical damage. The rest of the points we're going to dump into Vitality because we want to have as much of a health pool as possible, because I am going to be buffing on the offhand with CTA to be able to help with survivability. So anything that we can add into Vitality is just going to help greatly. Now when it comes to resistances, we have Fire, Cold, and Lightning at 95 with Poison at 90. Not necessarily as important to be able to get to 95, however anything you can do to boost it up as high as possible is just going to be to your advantage with survivability. And then when we look at the extra stats page, we can see here that we have huge boost to our maximum resistances, as well as you can see when it comes to the gear piece, you'll understand why these are in play, but we do have Fire, Cold, and Lightning Absorb, which again is just going to help with survivability. Now for the skill tree, we're going to start off with the combat skills, 1 into Sacrifice, 1 into Zeal to unlock Vengeance, and with Smite we're going to be able to deal a lot of physical damage, and this is what's going to be able to add any elemental damage to anything that is either physically resistant, but also it's going to be a good synergy for Salvation, which we'll go over later. Then we have a couple of other 1-point wonders. Holy Bolt, Blessed Hammer. Originally put 1 into Smite, but I'll come back to that later. 1 into Charge to be able to unlock Holy Shield, because again, our main skill that we're going to use to attack is going to be Smite, and this is what's going to help boost the damage of that greatly, as well as being able to tank any of the physical damage that we get, because again, we are going to be pretty much immune to all of the resistances. However, physical and magic is something that we are still going to be taking damage from, so this is what's going to help tank a lot of that damage originally. Now for the defensive auras, we are going to be looking at your resistances, because if you can see down here how I have maxed out my Fire, Cold, and Lightning, if you were needing a little bit of a boost to any of these to be maxed out, put in as many points as you need to be able to get there. So you would put as many into resist Fire, Cold, and Lightning here to be able to help with that, because again, we want to be able to not only have limited amount of damage coming from elements, but we also want to have high resistances to be able to make it to where we again are pretty much immune to everything. So then we have maxed out Salvation, and that's what's going to help with making it to where not only we as our character, or if you're playing on ladder, your teammates, or any of the mercenaries that you guys have, to be able to take as little damage as possible from the elements. And then we also have Defiance, which I have maxed out to be able to help boost our defenses, which again with Holy Shield is going to help with having a huge amount of defense to not only deal a lot of damage for Smite, but also tank a lot of the physical damage. And then going back to combat skills, I put the remaining points into Smite because again, that's where our damage is going to be dealt. So that's what's going to help with being able to not only have a better stun length, but just a lot more damage in general. So that way we are not just a good support character, but we are a good solo character. And also just again in PvP, for anybody that's going to be going against anybody that deals elemental damage, while they can't even damage you in any way, shape, or form, you'll be able to slowly but surely kill them off and claim an easy win. And then for our offensive auras, I have put nothing into offense. Lastly, we're going to go over the gear. And keep in mind, the reason that Saltatrix chose the pieces that he did is because he wants to utilize all of the absorbs for fire, cold, and lightning, as well as anything that can help max out our resistances for our build. So starting from the top, we're going to be looking at Kira's Guardian, and I put an in there because my Kira's Guardian was a low roll of 58, so I wanted to boost that up as much as possible for my resistances, and also is a good source of Cannot Be Frozen if you are not going to be using a Ravenfrost ring, which when coming to the rings later, we'll be able to go over different rings that you can use, but for this, it is where I'm going to be getting a huge boost of resistances, and again, a good source of Cannot Be Frozen. Then we have, for the amulet, I'm using Sarrakin's Chance. You can use something like Amara's for your plus to skills and huge boost to resistances depending on how it rolls, or you can use something like an Atmoscarab if you are really lacking in poison res and you need a huge boost to that. That's what's really going to help out there. But for me, I chose Sarrakin's Chance because I wanted not only a good boost to my resistances, but also to be able to have a good boost to my attributes, so that way for whatever I would be putting into strength and dexterity to get those to the appropriate numbers, I now with the amulet are able to get a good boost to anything that I wouldn't be putting into those now goes into vitality to help with just having a better health pool for my survivability. And the next thing we're going to go over is the body armor, which is a Guardian Angel. This is where I get my maximum boosts for all resistances, and I also socketed this with an to help with resistances as well. I have a lightsaber, which helps with my lightning absorb, and also has a little bit of a good boost to lightning, magic, and just overall damage. And then we have the only piece that I was a little bit wary about showing, because probably a lot of people are just looking at this video going, why would you do this? For any of you guys that don't know, using Exile already has a repair mod on it, so you would want to potentially use something that's ethereal. The only good ethereal item that I had to be able to use is a ethereal monarch. Otherwise, I have a very bad crown shield to use, which has very little defense, so I didn't want to use that. So again, this is a character that now that I've played it for a while, it's going to be shelved until I either want to come back to it or it's just shelved for good. But for the sake of this video, just to show that you would want to have Exile for your shield to help with your Defiance aura. Again, using that with your Vengeance and Salvation, so that way you can get a huge boost to defense, and also just with a huge boost to your resistances as well. And then for the gloves, we have Hellmouth for the fire absorb, Ravenfrost for the cold absorb, and again, this is where you can have a couple of different options. You can have something like a Carrying Wind for the boost to your poison res, or a Wisp Protector for the lightning absorb, and the other option, which I'm actually using, is a Dwarf Star for the extra fire absorb and the plus 40 to life, which will be boostable by battle orders for my CTA. And then we have a Snow Clash for the cold absorb, so that way, again, any extra absorb that you can get is just going to be beneficial for your build. And the last piece is going to be for the boots. This is the one that is pretty much versatile for whatever you would want to actually tailor your build towards. And originally he talked about putting Gore Riders on there for the extra boost to the Deadly Strike and the Crushing Blow. However, for me, I wanted to center more on survivability, so I went with Marrowwalks for the level 12 life tap that I can use, because even though you will get life tap on your Exile, and it is quite a good chance, however, if it doesn't proc when I need it to, I do have the ability to use life tap when I need it to, so that way I can actually survive a lot easier. This is again more centered on because I'm doing solo with survivability, because my mercenary, even though he is greatly equipped, when it comes to certain areas, he still is pretty weak when it comes to taking the physical damage. So anything that I can use to help increase my survivability to help then increase his is going to be beneficial for the playstyle that I want to do. The last of it is going to be the inventory. So I'm using a Hellfire Torch, my perfect anti-charm, and then an entire thing of skillers, all combat skillers, and then 20 to life small charms. And then on switch, I have my CTA and then my spirit. So like I've been saying in this whole video, this is a really fun and niche character build that I wanted to be able to highlight and to get some shine to, because when it comes to ladder, usually everyone focuses on the more offensive type of playstyles and characters. However, I don't feel that the support characters get enough credit for what they do. And then Oradin, something that I haven't really played too much of, and once I actually started playing this build, it was a lot of fun. Again, it is a little bit slow because you really are just trying to tank as much as you can from the elements, while if you're playing in a group, they would be doing a lot more of the damage, where you can deal damage, but comparatively speaking to everybody else, it's going to be a lot slower for you, especially if you do play solo. But for anybody that's going to be playing PvP against, like I said earlier, a Trapsin, a Sorceress at all, and especially a Wind Druid, even though, yes, the Hurricane and the Tornadoes are 50% physical and 50% cold, you are still going to be taking the damage from the cold, making it to where you can pretty much just go right up to them and start dealing a lot of the damage. You're not going to be frozen because of, again, the Curious Guardian or the Ravenfrost, but it is just a really fun build, especially if you're playing someone that doesn't know that you are elementally immune to everything, and they just keep attacking and attacking, and you stand strong, never losing any health. It is hilarious to watch people just get mad and pissed off that you are not going to die, and you just slowly go up to them, stun them, start killing them. And it's just, again, an overall fun build, very niche. Very few people are probably going to be trying this out, but just wanted to put out something else that's a little bit different, and something that would kind of break the status quo for what people can consider a really good support character that makes it to where you and your party are nearly immune to all the elements, so you can get through the end game play. And one thing that I found that was really fun is I went and actually killed Andariel. I stood in the fire pit, she starts taking damage, any of the procs from your gear start to go off, and you can take your hand off the keyboard and she will eventually just kill herself. And it is hilarious to watch, where you don't have to put in any effort. You could get up, go get a drink, go get something to eat, or go do anything that you need to do real quick, come back, and you are still alive and well, which is hilarious to watch. So again, just a really fun build. You do want to make sure to have plenty of rejuves available just in case you need them. But with that said, again, really fun build. I highly suggest any of you guys, if you have the gear to be able to try this out, give it a shot and see how well you do, and let me know in the comments how well it played out for you. And that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you made it this far, I hope that you guys enjoyed the content, and if so, please go ahead and give me a like. And if I have earned your subscription, please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification to be notified whenever a new video comes out. And I will be putting out a lot more content very, very soon, hopefully trying to put out a video once a week if I can. Other than that, I hope you guys are all staying safe, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care.